Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to discuss the differences between flex beam red light therapy and magnet therapy. What are the mechanisms? How do they work? The good, the bad? Which should you choose? Head to head, is there a clear winner? There is a clear winner. It's going to surprise you. Stay tuned for the reveal at the end. First, let's talk a little bit about red light therapy. This is a flex beam. You can hear the motor running. And the flex beam is the most powerful red light therapy device available. It's 5.5 watts of power, which is incredible. It has these 3 different diodes, and they're powered by cooling fans. If your red light therapy device doesn't have cooling fans on the back, then it's probably not very strong, which is okay. But with red light therapy especially, strength really does matter because it doesn't penetrate very deep, right? The flex beam has 3 different settings. I'm just going to turn this off so we don't have the fan bothering us. Has 3 different settings, 1, 2, and 3. They're like 10-minute treatments each. The setting 1 is primarily visible red light, and that's going to be in the 600 nanometer range. The setting 3 is going to be mostly near infrared light. That's going to be in the 800 nanometer range. And they do different things. First of all, visible red light only penetrates about half an inch. So it's not going to get very deep, but it's very effective at what it does, which is stimulates the cells of the body to make more ATP, adenosine triphosphatase. ATP is made by the mitochondria of the cells. They get stimulated, right? They get freaked out by the frequency of the red light. They speed up production of ATP, and that ATP gives you tons of cellular energy. You can use the energy to balance hormones, regenerate, heal, anything you want to do. It's the foundation of health. And the red light therapy does that, right? When the receptors in the skin of your body get hit by that frequency of red light, boom, you get more ATP. It's that easy. And what's great about it is most of those receptors are in the surface of the skin. So we only have to treat this on the surface. We don't have to worry about going really deep. We get those effects. Also, it's really good for treating blood vessels, right? Because the carotids here, for example, the aorta, the femoral arteries on the inside of the leg, the back of the knee, these are great places to apply the flex beam because those arteries are not very deep, and we can stimulate the blood that's flowing through them with the radiation of the visible red light. We can increase ATP production in the blood, send it systemically throughout the whole body, becomes a great thing. Can you treat deep structures with this? Can I, for example, treat my spleen with this or something like that? Not directly. You're not going to get it deep enough to get there. But all those photoreceptors we talked about in the skin, they have nerves that run off of them that dive deep into the deeper structures. So while I may not be able to reach cartilage in my spine with this, I can activate the receptors on the surface of where that is located, and then indirectly it will influence those deeper structures. That's how it works. It works indirectly when it comes to deeper structures. Red light therapy works the best with nerve tissue, with blood vessel treatments, with muscles, with soft tissue treatments. This is it. And it has 3 settings. Setting 1 is going to be primarily visible red light. Setting 3 is going to be primarily near infrared wavelength. And I mentioned that's in the 800 nanometer range. And number 2 is going to be a combination, right? So if you want to go a little deeper to get rid of some of those painful muscles, right? The thigh muscles, the deep pain, you're going to use the number 3 setting, which is going to be near infrared. But if you want to activate the ATP production and you get a massive effect, you're going to want to treat the blood vessels, and you're going to use the number 1 setting for that. It works really good. One of the places that I really like to treat, one of my favorite places to treat is, I'll just show you. Maybe I'll show you. Yes, I will show you. Here we go. It's a number 1 setting. Number 1 setting. I like to treat here the carotid arteries. Fantastic. Love to do that, right? You can see I'm able to radiate. All those light photons are going directly into the area. And because I'm up against the skin, I'm not losing anything, right? Because if you've got a panel and every morning you're standing in front of your panel like this naked, and you're doing your yoga or you're doing whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But the photons are getting lost. The bigger the space between the source and the target, the more loss of photons. Ideally, you want to have this thing directly up against the tissues. So there's no loss of photons. What's great about the flex beam is you can mold it around areas of your body to ensure that you get the closest attachment and the most power, the most red light into the tissue. It's really good for a lot of interesting things, right? Like I said, treating the blood vessels. If you're a man and you want to improve your testosterone production, for example, take this, put this on your testicles like this, and treat the testicles, treat the prostate. There's lots of great things you can do with this device, and it's a great device. It's expensive. It costs about $500. There are sales, and if you use the link on my website, you can get like a $70 discount anytime you want to buy it. I have lots of videos on it. I love it. And if you can afford it, you definitely want to buy it. I have 2 of these. I use them every day, right? Every day I use the red light therapy. I like the setting number 1. I don't use the near infrared very much, but I've got a sauna that I use for that. That is red light therapy. If you think red light therapy is nonsense, you think that different wavelengths of light don't have an effect on the body, have you heard of the sun increasing production of D3 in the body? If you believe that, which it is true, of course, then you have to also believe that this works, and it works wonderful. The next thing I want to talk about is magnetic therapy. Again, I've used magnets, man, for 24 years. When I was using them, people said I was crazy. I had other doctors call me and say I couldn't treat their patients because I was using magnet therapy. So frustrating, but I keep using it because it got such good results. And what's great about magnets is that unlike the flex beam, which, by the way, the red light of the flex beam, it penetrates about 1/2 inch. The near infrared will go a couple of inches. So it doesn't go very deep, as I mentioned. Magnetic field, super deep, right? This can go like 10 inches deep into the body. If I put this here on the side of my head, I can read that field over here. No problem. It goes through the skull, through the tissues, through the brain. I put this on my lower back. It's going to penetrate right down into the spinal discs. It can penetrate into the kidneys. It can penetrate into the prostate. Anywhere I want to go, magnetic fields are going to penetrate, right? They don't get hung up like the red light therapy does, which is great. So the penetration is a big bonus for magnetic fields. Now, let me just mention to you about magnetic fields, because a lot of people say that magnets don't work, or magnets don't have any effect on the body. Okay, 60 seconds, I'm going to explain it to you very simply. In your body, in your spine, there are charged proteins that flow up and down the spine in through the central nervous system, and they cross the blood-brain barrier. They go into the brain. Movement of charged particles creates a magnetic field. This is true. So the spine has a magnetic field that it produces continuously. So we have a field produced there. And what about the heart? The heart has an electrical system. That electrical system of the heart produces a dramatically large magnetic field that measurements say can go up to 15 feet away from the body. So we have these magnetic fields being produced by the body. Something else, if that doesn't blow your mind, that's going to blow your mind, is that in your brain, we've got hundreds of millions of these sensory organelles within the brain called magnetosomes. And these magnetosomes are these little microscopic crystals that contain iron, small amounts of iron. And they act as they chain together, and they form essentially a biologic magnet in the brain. And we have hundreds of millions of these structures in the brain. What's crazy is that these little structures have a scaffold around them that embeds them into the lipid layers of our membranes in the brain. The lipid layers, the fatty layer of brain tissue, these little magnetosomes attach to. And what that means is that if these little magnets essentially vibrate, they are going to resonate with the surrounding brain cell tissue. How can magnetic fields not have a crazy impact on our health, right? And of course, it does. Now, to further that, I want to tell you about the sun. Have you heard of the sun? It's up there in the sky. The sun produces about every 10 seconds a pulsation of magnetic fields. that come down and hit the earth. Now, we do have this thing called the magnetosphere around the earth. It's about 600 miles up that protects us from these solar winds. But this causes movement of charged particles in the earth's core. And remember what I said, movement of charged particles equals magnetic field. And this is a continuous geomagnetic field that the earth has, and it is in the earth's core, and it is produced by the activity of the sun and the pulsing, right, about every 10 seconds of these solar winds from the sun. The earth's magnetic field is about 0.3 to 0.6 Gauss, I believe, in strength. And we're surrounded by it. So now think about this. The magnetic field of this microphone, of this light I'm using, the magnetic field of the flex beam, right? Because remember, the flex beam has these cooling fans in the back. These produce a magnetic field. This is why flex beam doesn't like you to use this on your head. Just as a liability issue, they don't like the idea of having this magnetic field close to the brain because they don't understand, well, that could be. It could be good. It could be bad. They're worried about that. So they say just don't do it, right? So they're aware of that. These magnetic fields all around us influence us. There's something called biorhythm entrainment, which means that if I have two fields and they come together, then they start to influence each other. And that's important. So you've got a bad shoulder. I take this magnet. I stick it on your shoulder. I influence the field. All you have to do is acknowledge that there is a field here and there is a field here. If you believe that, if you can accept that, that's all you need to accept. I'm saying then, based on my clinical experience, that if I take this magnet and I take the north polarity of this magnet, the north pole, the negative pole, the south-seeking pole, just to be clear, I put that on the shoulder for 10 minutes. That has a positive effect on the patient's health. I'm saying that based on clinical experience. You don't have to agree with that. Try it yourself. Make your own decision, right? You make your own decision. But that's what I'm saying. That is the essence of magnetic therapy, right? Now, there are lots of ways to apply this. ProMagnet has all sorts of devices you can buy. Belts and wraps. And you can buy these block magnets. They're cheap. They're $30, but they're heavy, right? They're bulky. You can buy neodymium magnets, which are small and sexy and discreet. You can get those, and they're super strong. You can do something like this, and you can buy a pillow pad. Put this in your pillow, and you can sleep on this every night, right? If you're suffering from problems with your brain, you expose the brain to this north polarity field every night for 6 hours. See what that does for you. Maybe it helps you. Maybe it doesn't help you, but it's going to affect the field. My clinical experience is that this will help you. It's helped lots of people. This is mine, by the way. I sleep on this every night. My feeling is that the north side of a magnet has a very positive influence on our field. You have to decide for yourself if that's true for you. But the point is that with magnets, we can have a dramatic effect on things that are deep. It works really good on bones, on joints, arthritic structures, right? Deep tissues, organs. If I take this magnetic field, again, these are marked underneath them. If I just show you this, I'll show you what I mean. See, north, that's an N. Looks like a 4 or something, but that's an N. So I know what side the north is. It's right here. If I take this and if I place this on my heart, and I do this for 10 minutes, I'm going to have a positive health effect on the heart tissue. That's what I'm stating clinically. Again, I'm a clinician, not a scientist. Let the scientists figure it out. I'm telling you my experience. So it's easy to use these magnets. They're not expensive, and they're good for these deeper structures. If you want to treat the nerves, if you want to treat the blood vessels, if you want to affect the chemical composition of the blood and things like that, then this is definitely better, right? Definitely better, but it's more expensive, right? Those are about $500 if you get a discount, but they're expensive. The magnets, they're not as expensive at all. Remember though, if you have a pacemaker, if you have a implanted electrical device in your body, you don't want to just be exposing yourself to magnets. It'll screw up the device. Remember that, right? But if you don't have that, then these are pretty good. It's pretty difficult to hurt yourself if you use the North Pole. Now, in one of my videos, I mentioned that in some cases, I use the South Pole. And immediately, of course, I said something like, the North Pole is anti-inflammatory. It slows everything down. It relaxes tissue. And the South Pole excites and speeds up, right? And I said, use the North Pole. Don't use the South Pole. I said, I only use the South Pole in certain cases, certain clinical cases. And I left it at that. And of course, everybody calls me, shouldn't I use the South? I want to use the South. So I'm going to restate again, use the North. Do not use the South Pole. Use the North. Use the south-seeking negative North Pole of the magnet. That is the safe bet. That will give you the most benefit. Do not use the South. I have used the South in maybe 2% of all my cases over the last 24 years. It's not something that you need to play around with. It is something that can do more damage. So don't do it. Use the North. That's simple, right? If you want to buy a flex beam, you can get it from the links that I'm going to post on my website, and I'm going to post them in the description of the video. There's a discount you can get. If you want to buy magnets, you can contact ProMagnet. ProMagnet does not offer a discount, and I am not an affiliate with ProMagnet. I don't get anything when you buy from them, but I would appreciate if you do buy from them, mentioning me, mentioning my video, so you know that I'm doing my part to promote a really good USA American company that I believe in. And I've got tons of both products, right? Got a couple of flex beams, got a lot of different magnets that I use almost every day. So, the winner. Who wins? The flex beam or the magnet? The clear winner is the magnet because of its depth of treatment, its cost. It's magnet, man. It's magnet all the way. The only negative thing about the magnet is if you have electrical equipment implanted in your body, you can't use it like a pacemaker. If you can afford both, you buy both, right? I have both. If I'm treating the carotid arteries, if I'm treating the nerve tissue in my body, if I want a nerve problem to resolve, if I'm trying to treat the chemistry of my body and increase the mitochondrial production of adenosine triphosphatase, ATP, I use the flex beam. But if I want to get deep and really get into some of those deep structures, some of those organs, and especially the joints, right? Like the joint pain, then I use a magnet. If you have a situation where you're suffering from a brain condition, like a stroke, let's say you've got a stroke. You've had a stroke. You've had brain damage. And, you're like, what do I do? Well, if you have brain damage, you buy one of these and you use it here on the carotid arteries to activate all the blood that goes to your brain. And then you buy this. And you sleep on this every night. That's how you do it. But let's say you can't afford both. What do you buy? You buy this. You use the magnet. Hope this was fun, informative. It's just my opinion, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. And again, I'm saying buy both. Also, with the magnet, right? As I mentioned before in my other videos, you can do a lot of cool things with this. You can charge things on the magnet. You can take water. You can charge the water and make the water into a healing elixir, right? Sometimes in the mornings, I'll have my coffee, and my wife really likes to have acidic coffee. I don't know why. And I'm a wimp. I don't like it. I like it smooth. So she makes her French press, whatever it is, coffee, and it's so friggin' acidic. It gives me heartburn sometimes. I take that cup of coffee and I lay it. Don't tell her I said this. I lay it on this magnet for like 10 minutes as it cools. And then I drink it. I'm telling you, it's not acidic. It's smooth. It changes the structure of the water in the coffee. I've also done it before on cheap wine. I had a friend of mine come over to my house and he had good intentions. I don't drink alcohol, but he brought over this bottle of wine for us to drink with dinner. And it was a cheap wine. And if I do drink, I like to drink stuff that's high quality, right? I like to drink organic wines. And he brought over this cheap wine that he got from, the drugstore up the road from Walgreens. So I took it and I said, oh, thanks for the wine. I'm going to put this on ice. I put it in the fridge, and in the fridge, I laid it on top of this very bar magnet, right? And I laid it on top of the magnet for 15 minutes. And then I drank it and it made it taste a lot better. And so you can use this magnet for a lot of cool things. And again, if you haven't tried anything with magnetic therapy, I encourage you to go to ProMagnet's website to buy what you can afford, experiment, play with it, have fun. I also encourage you to buy a flex beam, right? It's a different mechanism. And if you have these devices and you want to reach out to me for specific protocols, I can talk to you through Skype. I can talk to you through email. My phone number is 239-645-2405. It is my cell phone. And yeah, I'm available, right? If you think that I'm not, call me right now. Call or text me on my cell phone. Just say hi, and I'll say hi back. It's my phone. I'm available. I do this out of service. I wish you the best of health. Good luck. Bye-bye.